Hello, welcome back. Today's session is going to be a little bit different because not doing any electronics today. Part of fixing this stuff is, well, for me anyway, is making it look as good as it could be. So repairing the electronics, taking it out of the box, playing it, all good fun. But I'm particularly talking about the Atari today, the Atari VCS that I started on a previous stream, which is now working. I was going to say I'm waiting for some parts, but those parts actually turned up this morning, some capacitors, but I'm in the middle of restoring the bezel, so I'm going to let you look over my shoulder while I carry on doing that today. I will have a chat about what I've done, how I've done it. I have no idea how good this is going to look when it's finished. This is a little bit experimental, but I'm pretty happy with how it's going so far, so let's take a look at what I've got and see where this is going to lead us. First off, let me introduce you to my desk. Not quite the same as usual, not quite the same layout as usual. I have the Atari bezel here sitting in a vise just to hold it still and flat, and I have started a few bits and pieces here. I've got the main logo on here, which I have to say didn't go on too badly, but I have had some fun and games with these letters. The idea of what I'm doing is these are paper inkjet printable water slide transfers. So that's what I'm looking for, and there's two types. There's print on clear, so that when you take the transfers off you have no background, just the text, and this particular paper and what we see here is white backed water transfer paper. Originally these letters I did on the clear, and as soon as you dropped them on the black they disappeared, so I'm redoing them now on the white paper so that the lettering stands out. And the second issue I had with them was not letting them dry long enough. So you print these out, you design them. There's the font there, which is the Atari font. Let me get it around the right way. And the Atari font wasn't straightforward because I did find something very, very similar, but the T's were wrong. So I have edited the font to make it correct. Let's get it so that you can see it without the light shining on it too much. Game Reset's a good example with the T. We've got the full cross on the T rather than just half a cross that was on the original font. I couldn't find anything else wrong with it. It looks pretty exact to me. What else did I need to do? Yeah, I've had to redo these. So these are now printed on white with a black border so that I cut round them, and I'll cut one out in a minute and we shall make a start. Let's I haven't done the power end. I put them on just because I was looking at some alignment, and I'll show you the alignment and how I'm aligning as we go. But there's a lot of black on black here. Looks very dark on my screen, but as we get some of these out, let's cut out the power. Just roughly cut them out because I'm going to start at the power end. And then I think as you follow along with me, you'll get the idea of where I'm going with this. I have got more than one set because, as I found out with the first lot, they're delicate and very easy to damage. So I'm going to cut out the power bit first. So what I'm doing is cutting it around, getting rid of the white, so we've got a black edge all the way around. Now on the camera you probably can't see the edges of these transfers, but you can see them here. But the plan is I'm going to blend these edges and lacquer over the top of here with the same lacquer that I lacquered these transfers. I'm also going to not try to go too small with these because it makes them extremely delicate. So, didn't want that to flip over. Drop these in water, let them soak a little bit until that backing starts to come off. So these, as I say, these are inkjet water slide transfers. I'm going to get that correct. So you print them on the shiny side of the paper in an inkjet printer, leave them to dry, and then you have to lacquer them because inkjet printer is water soluble. So several coats of lacquer. I think I ended up putting about 5 coats of lacquer on these, 15 minutes between each coat, and then I left them overnight because without that coating, as soon as you put them in the water, the ink just runs. And if you don't leave it to dry for 24 hours, the ink just runs. So you do need to leave them for a little while to get them going. And we need to wait for that, for the backing to start coming off. I mean, what you can see on camera, what I can see on camera, looks fantastic. And I think by the time I've got the lacquer on it, it will look fantastic. But the more letters I put on here, the better. Because I'd had issues with putting the previous lots of these letters on, I tried to put some on last night, and I think that was a little bit impatience on my part, and the transfer just fell apart. I've put this one on this morning, and you've got to be very delicate with them, very careful with them. I'm not a model plane builder. I never used to put the transfers on any of my model aeroplanes. I was quite happy once it was stuck together and looked like an aeroplane. But these transfers are quite delicate, and because they are printed, they are easy to break. So this one here is starting to come away from its backing paper. I think that's wet enough. We shall find out. I'm delicately going to get that on the scalpel. And what I'm going to try and do is get it roughly where I want it, because the less I have to move these, the better. Now I need to get the backing paper off. And this is where I forget everybody's watching me. Because these are really easy to break. Now, I am going to do this by eye. That's the paper off. But next to me sitting here on my screen is a zoomed in image of the bezel, so that I can roughly get these in the right place by eye. And I have got myself a few alignment marks on this piece of plastic, which I shall show you later. Mostly for getting these in the right place. Doesn't look very red on my screen. I've got tweezers that I'm going to use instead of 2 scalpels. But the less I touch that, the better. Now I think you can just see the light catching the edge of the transfer. I can see it on my screen here. Hopefully that's coming out as well, because obviously this is printed on black and the 2 blacks currently don't match. But these transfers have got a layer of lacquer over them. The background here, which I have cleaned, primered and painted, doesn't have a layer of lacquer. So by the time I finish laying all these down, I should be cutting while I'm talking. By the time I finish laying all these down and lacquered it, I'm hoping that the background will disappear, or at least mostly disappear. I've looked online to see if anybody else has done this before. And I haven't actually seen anybody completely rebuild a bezel from the lettering standpoint. I'm actually going to finish lining that up in a minute, because I'm trying not to dab them too much, and that's going to move around quite a lot. So what I'm doing with this is, as it's easier to see whether that is parallel with the top than it is to see that little text is parallel, and you can't see what I can see because you're at a different angle, I'm actually using that to help my eye. And if we can do it without the backing paper. So what I've marked some location just roughly. So over here, the tops of the A, and where it comes on the bottom of there, and I can just get the height correct. That actually looks pretty good to me. If I go too mad on the edges of these, that paint can start coming off and I get white lines around them. I've had little white lines on some of them anyway. I think the paper shrinks, so I'm using a black Sharpie to touch up around those edges. But this one, I plonked it in place and I left it. I've just left it, not touched it, completely wet. I do see people dabbing them dry, but I think these are a bit too delicate for that. So that's that. You're beginning to see more those edges because the light's shining on them, but there's a big difference between the black background and the black background on these. I'll if I move it, or maybe you'll be able to tell. See, there's a big difference between the black background and the black background on these, but that's because the lettering has had lacquer put on them, and this is just a paint finish that I will lacquer afterwards. So I'm going to blend the edges of those in very gently. I've blended the edge of the video computer system in. Need to let it dry before I start blending the edge in, and then I think once that's got a layer of lacquer over the top, I'm hoping that will pretty much disappear. Even if it doesn't, it will still look a lot better than what the bezel looked like when I took the console out of the box. The video computer system, even though you can see the blacks are different, I think it's more to do with the sheen. I think once this has got a layer of there is my lacquer. There's my lacquer. Everything I've used on here is this brand. I did thoroughly clean this up, which was a hell of a job. Took ages to get clean. What am I after next while I'm chatting? TV type. It was a hell of a job to get clean. Sorry, I'm concentrating cutting things out. And then once it was clean, I'd cleaned all the text off and all the coating on that was on there off, and the black shiny plastic that was under there looked horrible. So this had a coating of satin paint. And I think that looks very, very, very much like what it looked like when it was new. I don't think that was the process that they used to get it like that, but it was the process I used to get it like that. Right, I'm going to go with the TV type at the top. I suppose I could it is TV type. Right, the wire is just off centre. Playing with cameras again. Let's let that cool down. Right. Doesn't look straight to me. Now, that looks central to me. My eyes go weird. Now looking at the original, let's get the other one on there soaking while I fine tune that one. Not a lot of space to play with on this one. Backing, I can just see the backing paper starting to peel off there. Let's use 2 pairs of tweezers. They're all cack-handed. Do love the way these float. Is that bit gone? And just normal cotton buds, I'm just mopping up the excess water because it probably will leave watermarks, and I will have to try and clean this before I lacquer it. It's a little bit high. That's looking good to me. So the other thing that I need to restore this once it's finally done is an orange pen for the outside, which I have tried out there, which looks pretty close to the picture I've got in front of me. So it's quite warm up here, and these are drying out really quickly, which I'm not complaining about. These are actually easier to line up than I thought they would be. So what do we need now? Left difficulty. So this is one of the big ones. Let me just roughly cut this out. while you sit and watch my labels dry. Right, we need an A and a B. If this works out well, I've got some spare sheets. If anybody is interested, I might sell some of these sheets pre-printed. So all you got to do is cut them out and stick them on. If anybody else desperately wants to restore an Atari bezel. And I'm deliberately only cutting out the ones that I need so I don't end up putting one in the wrong place. I think the other problem I made with potentially the large video computer system there is my scissors weren't sharp enough. I don't think they did a good enough edge of cutting, or a good enough job of cutting the edge clean. This is probably why there was a bit more white showing up on there than should have been. These ones I've just put down right now, if there's any white on the edge, it's very tiny. I actually took these scissors out of my fishing box because I know they're sharp. They probably won't be sharp by the time I finish cutting paper with them, so I might need some more for fishing. These are what I had. A and B. This one, there's not a huge amount of space in there for this, so I think I'm going to have to cut this quite closely to the top and bottom. Just so that I've got a bit of room to manoeuvre. Say I've printed out multiples of the same, so if I do ruin one, I've got something to go back to. I can try again. And I guess I can dry fit these just to see if there's enough space. There's not a lot of space for me to move that about. So I'm going to crop that a bit closer to this. Let's see how that looks. I've got a bit of space to move that about now. Now, the old bezel lettering, I won't put them in straight away. I'll put that in when I start laying that one. See if we can speed this up a bit. There's that camera. That camera's not too hot, is it? It doesn't feel particularly warm up here today. That one looks like it's moved to me. It certainly has. When did that move? And I was dry fitting the other one, I suspect. That would have been annoying if I hadn't spotted that. This is where I begin to wonder, should I start dabbing those slightly? Just getting a bit of the water off so that they stay still. Just gently around the edge. I just don't want those edges breaking down too much, because that's where the white starts to show through. I just need to be careful not to move them. As you can see, just squidging the edge, squidging the water out. But they do dry flat. That one I did about 3 hours ago. Just gently squidging the water out of that edge. That should help hold it down. I think I've already started to show the white starting to come through on that edge there. Now that may happen anyway. Has this one got any movement still? Nope, that one's pretty still. They look aligned to me. This one looks like it's ready. 2 ready. There's that surface tension we was talking about yesterday. If you're wondering why some of the edges of this look a bit odd, I have masked it because it's been painted, and I've not took the masking off because obviously at the end of this I want to give it a final coat. Right, difficulty. With difficulty, the I and the C are in the centre. Actually, that looks very close. I think what would have also worked, and I was also thinking about doing, was vinyl. But the cost of vinyl printers, even used, was quite a lot. So I gave up with that idea. Yeah, you're getting a much better view of what I can see now with regards to the edges of the water transfers. You can see the difference between the blacks. Just mopping up some water here. I think that looks very close. Now when I started this, just looking at the camera, I don't know how it's coming out on stream, but these are a bit golder looking than I can see on the screen in front of me. It's making the colours look quite pale. They are a little bit more vivid than that in real life. The stream they look a little bit better. So my screen's washing them out a bit, I think. Nearly half done. Let's see if we can get the A and B on there. Not got much space to move that bit of paper. Problem with the edge around this bezel. Excuse me, tweezers, that's what they're for. It's better. Bit cack-handed there. So it's all about whether these blend in when I put the lacquer on the top. How good this is going to look in the end. Is it going to look like a bezel with stickers on? I would like it to look as close to the original as I can. Tad higher. That looks pretty good to me. On camera, the off looks wonky, but real life it doesn't. Dab some water off around that edge. Hard bit is with the dabbing is not moving it. Just trying to get that edge dry a little bit, that should help keep it still. This one I dabbed here, I can see it's flattened out. A little bit of white showing through. That looks worse on the camera than it is. I think some of that's reflection. So that was that. About 50 minutes to do those. I need a different picture. Let's go and grab a different picture. That's the other side. So I put these labels together using Adobe Illustrator because it's a vector designer. Is that the right word? Designer. And so it means I can resize these and get them as close to the right size as I can. Now, to my naked eye, it's not naked actually, I've got glasses on. But to my eye, they look big. Well, they did look big on the other end, but now I'm looking at this end, they don't. Measuring them and checking them with the old overlay, which I've got over here somewhere. This is what came off, which I think is a little bit odd because I didn't think any of the Ataris were put together using well, what's clear sort of acetate with the printing on, unless they were glued on, and this one's come unstuck. Unfortunately, that ink is not clear enough to me to see exactly and use it as a guide. But what I can tell you is that video computer system is very, very close to that one when I lay it on there. But that's the old one. That's the F being skinny. Don't know what you mean. F being skinny. You're answering a question I asked a little while ago, so I'm confused. Right, what do I need this end? Right difficulty. I'm glad I didn't get them mixed up. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that looks like on the real one. They are aligned left. I see what you're saying though. It looks like the real one. It just looks worse on the camera than it does in real life. But obviously there's some lens distortion going on here. There's always lens distortion with cameras. Right difficulty. I've already got an A and a B. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a visual trick. Let's cut these out so you can see what I'm doing. But this is all pretty much rinse and repeat now. Seagulls outside. Wonder what that's all about. Cut this one closely again. Try not to cut through the wire. Definitely need a fine pair of scissors for this. Silence. It's deafening. Right, difficulty. What else can I cut out while we're down here? Gonna need a game select. I'll put that over there. Game select. Two of these. Yeah, I think as I was saying earlier, it's not just about getting these working. I'm trying to make these look as close as I can to what they did when they were new. And I don't know how close this is going to end up looking like the original bezel. Well, I need two of them and I need a game reset. Now, hopefully I don't pick the wrong one up. What's the next one? Game select. So let's put game reset up there so that I don't pick the wrong one up by mistake next time. My tweezer's gone. Do. Over there. Right, difficulty. Get rid of some of that water. Right, where am I lining that up? Again on the ick. Ick looks in the middle. Does it look straight? You can be really, really accurate with these. I think if I do get, well, I'm definitely going to buy another Atari VCS to fix, because I'm hoping to be selling these on in lovely working condition and in lovely condition. I think what I might do is, if I've got one that's good enough, actually take some measurements off and actually redesign this or redraw it out completely in Adobe Illustrator. So I've got the options at a later date of making these in a different way. Let's get a clean one. Once I've got these all down, I'm just going to leave it here to sit and dry overnight, and then it'll get a coat of lacquer, a couple of coats of lacquer tomorrow. I shall take the masking tape off. It's masked all around the edge, all around here and on front of these, which should reveal the shiny plastic underneath, which is how it looked originally. And I'm hoping it's going to look decent. Because I can, I don't think I've said this before earlier, but because I can see the edge of here against the edge there, and I can, because it's longer, I can see if it's parallel. Gives me a better idea whether that text is parallel. Not quite. That looks pretty good to me. Looks wonky on the camera. Does look wonky. That looks straight to me now. Looks straight to you guys out there. I need another A and B, don't I? Oh no, I don't. These are the funny arrows. Plenty of room to move on that one. You keep I'm not that bad actually. Just trying to get an edge straight on that, help me line it up. Now, I don't believe that that downward arrow that I've made there is 100% accurate, and I could have gone back and fixed it, but I think on the original one, I'm looking at the one here, the gaps change, but I've left it like that so that I know this is mine. It'll be my way of telling the difference. If this does look perfect, which it ain't going to, but it might look very close. I'll be able to tell from a distance if it's a grant mod or a grant repair, just based on that. Definitely game select. Barely using any pressure with this scalpel. The L just off center, looking at the original. I mean, I have noticed looking at some of the pictures of these bezels that they're not all, I don't think they were all exactly the same. I think there were some very slight design differences. There were some very slight colour differences. And so the picture I'm looking at, these look much yellower than what I'm doing here, but the one I got when I got this out of the box, the colours that were still there looked more of a gold. Just a little bit more that way. That looks dead on to me. Slightly high. When I'm doing that, I'm holding my breath. I've just noticed. It's very delicate. it's not straight. Your eyes instantly can see whether it's straight or not. Well, sitting here they can. That looks good. This one's going to be interesting to line up. I'm after getting it in the middle of the oval. So I put some dots on the edge of this card so that I could sit it square, lined up with those. Look straight to the card. Right, last two. Game reset. Nope, need a bit more space for that one. Thought it was a bit big. better. Last one to cut out. Some little high spots on those. Hopefully they'll dry flat. I think it's just where they're drying out. I've got to trust to the process. That one dried nice and flat, and these ones are looking flat, the first ones I did. I think it's because it's not dry all the way around. That edge is looking flat, and I did dab that a little bit, and so does that one. So just wait for those edges to dry out, and I think they'll sit flat. I finished editing the second Nintendo DS video earlier this morning. That's waiting to go live on the Fix It or Not YouTube channel tomorrow. It goes live at about 4:30, I think, in the afternoon. Does it make sense to pick these up with tweezers? Do 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 do. Just mopping up the water. Where are we looking at this one? The S just to the right of the centre. About there. I think that's a bit too far. Got quite a lot of water on this one. Atari wouldn't have made any money if they made them all like this, would they? Mind you, did Atari make any money? They must have made some money in the heyday of this. You'd have thought. Everybody makes loads of money until they don't. When I mucked the one up yesterday, I actually was using the cotton bud to try and move them around, which was a mistake. It's much easier to move it with the scalpel. Trouble is, if you've got too much water there, it moves back. So I'm just mopping that water up. Surface tension. That looks straight. Looks straight to my eyes. Just getting that level with the screen. That looks alright. These flattening out over here. Let's go back and work those in a minute. Let's get this one off. Get this one on, should I say. Oh, left that a bit too long. Gone. Just dabbing the water out the edges of these ones over here, so you can't see me doing that, can you? let's finish lining these up. I've just got some little the edges are just raised and they probably will go flat, but now the majority of that is where it should be. Right, let's zoom this out a bit. I'm just going to dab the edges of these and get them flat. Can't tell, but there's a very faint ridge around the edge, which is where the water's still sitting. Just dabbing it flat, dabbing it dry. Because I want those to blend in as much as I can. Also try and not go too mad with working them. That is a job requiring of patience. Now hopefully they'll all dry flat and not move. There's no reason why they should move. But that is an Atari Bezel, Atari VCS 2600. Going to finish that off. Been sitting on my desk for a little while, this waiting to be done. Wasn't well earlier in the week, which is why I didn't stream earlier in the week. But and I've had all sorts of things changed around for testing, so just a little bit mucking around there, getting things back up and working properly. So hopefully I'm working properly. These capacitors I had to order in. I'm going to change 3 of the electrolytic capacitors on here. This one, and this one. These two are exactly the same value, and This is a little axle, quite a bit smaller than that one, but this is a 4.7 microfarad 50 volt, which will replace that one. Let's get the soldering iron on, and we'll make a start. So those three need changing before this goes back in the box. It is working, but one of the symptoms I've noticed that when you switch it on, it does take a little bit of time for the screen to come on, and I think it's because these capacitors are taking a little bit of, this one here particularly is taking some time to charge up because it's so leaky. So we'll take that off, and we may do a test to compare the capacitance of that capacitor with the one I'm putting on, just to see the difference. This meter does test capacitance. But first things first, let's disconnect that just to make it easier to work on. Let's take this one off first. It's those bottom ones there. So we're going to desolder this. I can find myself some nice clean piece of wick. I'll take it out and we'll measure it, and we'll compare it with the new one that's going in. What I might do is chop the legs off of that on the other side, it'll make it easier to get out. Let's pop autofocus on. So this one's the one that's coming out. We'll chop that out. Gives ourselves a bit of wiring to should be able to pop that out. Come on. Well, you didn't miss too much at the start, because it was a slight miss start there, being a little bit out of sorts this week, which I know you're aware of, and not everything was working, partly because I had all the cameras and inputs ran the wrong way because I was playing about with bits on Sunday. But what I'm up to today is changing the capacitors on the Atari. So this new capacitor that I'm putting in measures 5.85 microfarad, and the one I'm taking out 5.82 microfarad. So there's nothing wrong with that capacitor, but we'll change it anyway because I've already cut it out and I might as well put the new one in. Just as well, while we're looking at the board, we've got a little positive sign here. Capacitors tend to be marked up, electrolytic capacitors tend to be marked up to the negative leg, so I'm just going to form this up and drop it in with the arrow pointing towards the negative side. like that. You can see that. Double check myself. We'll solder that in. Yeah, it was a bit of a false start. Microphone's not working, and I was once again mucking about with a timer. And by the time I'd got the timer working, it was time. And then I started streaming, and there was no audio. Get that soldered up. You can switch it on and it will sit there for a couple of minutes before the screen appears, and I think that's because of the big capacitor over there, which we're going to change. But that's the main electrolytic capacitor on the main board changed. Let's move that out of the way and we'll have a look at the others. This big one here is the big problem, I think. Let's cut that one off. And we'll give that one a measure and see what that one measures. Right, that is 2000. That is in spec. Let me just check it with the old one. That one is well out of spec. Yeah, very, very low. And I was trying to not touch both ends as well. Might not have been easy to see that on the camera. Your body can affect measurements, especially resistance measurements. Depends how accurate you want to be with your measurements. If you're calibrating something, you don't want body measurements involved, but if you're just checking to see if a component's in or out of spec, your body's not going to make much difference when it's that far out of spec. We're talking the old capacitor was about 5 microfarads and the new capacitor is 2200 microfarads. It's lost its capacitance. I tell you what, I've got to say, it's really good to be feeling almost normal again today. Nice to get back to doing some work. Not been too well the last few days. Can't get that bit of wire out. Don't know why. Let's get a bit more solder off of there. Shocking waste of right, that's off. Oh, anybody remember which way around that came off? Pretty sure negative to this end. I can't live with it like that. So as a double check, this large metal pad here will be a ground pad, and that leg's connected to the ground pad, so that ends the negative. I think. I thought it said on this side of it 5 volts somewhere. Power in. That's, yeah, there's a little positive mark in there. Look. So I was about to put that in the wrong way around because it needs to go in that way around. Negative leg going down to the ground pad. Get a bit more life out of this desoldering braid. The same rule of thumb on this one, look. That's the large ground pad. So that'll be the negative next to the edge. So in that way. Once we've got this soldered in, I'm gonna we'll check that last capacitor just to see what it says. There's my brush, there's my brush. I've previously been through and checked all these connections. These switch connections can come loose because they get a little bit of pressure on them from the switching. I have cleaned all of these pieces of aluminium that stick out the case already, but that should be ready to go back together. Where's that last capacitor? Let's just measure this last one and see what it measures. What's this supposed to be? 4.7. See if I can do it without touching it. a lot of space. Right, negative. Nothing left in that one, look. No longer being a capacitor, that one. Try it again on this side. Right, definitely 2 out of those 3 capacitors weren't working properly, or were out of spec. So we'll pop those to one side. That should improve things. Now, because I've put my TV away, I'm going to now put this together, confident in the knowledge that I've put everything back in and it will work. So let's test that theory, shall we? What do I need next on the desk? Where's the lovely case? I don't think I need the case yet. I'm trying to remember how this goes back together. One aluminium box. One aluminium top. And a box of various pieces. Right. That piece of paper goes on there. Do remember that. And we have 2 screws down the bottom here. So this one's been a bit of a marathon. I've probably gone a little bit deeper into the Atari and spent a bit more time in it than I probably should have done. But it's been fun, and it's generated quite a lot of content to cut together, and I am hoping to get that all cut together to be next week's release on YouTube. I do find the fact that that goes together like that quite disturbing. That actually touches on the bottom of that printed circuit board. But as you can see, there are marks on this board, and it looks like it's designed to touch the board. So we'll leave it there. Now I need to remember what way around, what screws go where, because I think the middle screws go through the bottom of the case. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws going here. There'll be short ones. I've got 2 short ones over there. I think I should have 4 short ones in here, but in the box. to, although one of those screws is different. Let's get all these screws the same. Those two are the same. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. So I reckon they're the screws that go in the aluminium. Because they look like they've been tapped rather than needing to be self-cutting. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the problem when you leave things so long to putting them back together, you forget how they came apart. Then we've got 2 screws here as well. I'll hold that on there. Well, somewhere I'm going to have big screws going in here. Not convinced these are all the correct screws for this. Not long ones, so they're definitely going to be case screws. 6. Right, I'm going to use those 4, I think. that back in there. Pop that on there. Yeah, unlike a lot of ones I've seen, these, if they're original, are still in very good condition because they're not falling apart. And I have all 6 of them, so we'll get that back on. Would that make sense to go back in that way first? Maybe. I should have watched my video back of how I took it apart, shouldn't I? They all fell off. Lost one now. Where'd he go? I had 6 of those just now and I've only got 5. In fact, I've only got 4. Where'd he gone? That's it. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. Don't remember there being 8 screws. There are 8 screws. So that holds that holds everything in place, because that goes through the case, through the circuit board, and holds the front bezel on. I've got some screws that drop in here. Four rubber feet still. Right. And fingers crossed this all works after I put it back together. I'll pop those two in. They screw into the aluminium case. They were the middle screws that I didn't put in. And now there's the bottom two. I'd have been no good working on a production line building these, would I? I'd have only made 2 or 3 a day. That's one Atari put back together. Oh. Moved into it. Ah, too slow. Must have selected the one with no ships. Squeaky joystick. really am rubbish at Defender. Newton zone. So that's the Atari done, back in its box, tested and working. A little bit different there today with the Bezel restore. Probably far more work than it was worthwhile doing, but I was curious to try the water transfers out and see how they would go. I did prepare the bezel. I didn't mention it in the rest of the video, but I did prepare the bezel by priming it and putting some satin black on the top, so there was a nice background for the water transfers to stick to, and it seemed to work quite well. After all the transfers had dried overnight, I put a few coats of clear lacquer over the top of them. The edges haven't completely disappeared, but if you don't get too close, it looks pretty good. It's a lot more vibrant, I think, than the original ones were. So I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. The capacitors have gone in and they've improved things. It comes on much quicker. The screen's clearer and sharper. So that's it for the Atari. I mean, other things we could do on it, we could composite mod it, and there are other bits and pieces we could do. I've got some Atari all-in-one cartridges, printed circuit boards I've ordered up, so I do plan to get those built. So the Atari's going to stick around for a little while longer because I'll need that to test them in. But that's it. That's a wrap. That was a long one with that video and the first part. But hope there was something in there that you got something out of. If you enjoyed it, please do like, and for more content like that, subscribe, and you shall get some more popping up on the timeline soon. But you all take care, everybody, and I will catch you soon. Bye bye.